So on screen right now is the list of colours that I used for my final Hellblasters design. You can pause the screen and have a look at them and just follow along with me. I started with a base Nocturne Green all over, and then I used Stormhost Silver as a bright silver to kind of pick out all of the light panels. And when that was on, I went over it with a heavy application of Dark Angels Green contrast paint, and because it sort of sits nicely on there, I could work my way around with that cotton bud, just picking out a little bit of areas where I want the silver to show through a little bit more. Right, then I moved on to the chest wings, skull wings, and I'm using thinned down Wraithbone here to just kind of a couple of layers, make sure that all of that detail is showing through, ready for later when we apply the shade, and the same on the winged dagger on the shoulder. Using Vallejo White here, but you could use White Scar. While that's out, I'm going to go around and pick out the rest of the areas I need white. So I'm going to go around the plasma coils, because I'm going to need those dry, and along the bottom of the gun there. I'm then going to use Dark Angels Green contrast paint and just tidy up any edges I'd gone over with the white. I'm then going to go back to the eyes and apply a layer of Vallejo White. You can use White Scar here again. And I'm going to make sure that I'm just tidying up and making sure it's a very heavy white on the plasma coils. I'm then going to work my way around all of the black areas with Black Legion, applying that nicely right into the corners, and making sure I don't miss any bits. So the rubberized seals around the legs and the hips, and then onto the gun grip and the black paneling at the bottom of the gun that is shown on the box art, which is what I'm aiming for. Now when I've done that, I'm going to take some Mephiston Red and put it into my wet palette, thin that down slightly and apply it all over very carefully the panels on the gun that should be red, making sure I don't get any onto that plasma. And then I'm going to go around with some Leadbelcher into the metal areas of the gun. While that's drying, and after I've got that finished off, I'm going to work my way around the rest of the armour, picking out any of the silver areas. So sort of the back of the power pack, I'm going to make sure I sort of fill in those heat vents as well. Then I'm going to move on to applying the Agrax Earthshade onto the chest, wings and skull, and let that sit nicely in there. And while that's drying, I'm going to go and do a very heavy application of Agrax Earthshade all over the gun to kind of dull that down a little bit, because it was a little bit too bright for me. I'm going to make sure I don't go anywhere near the plasma though. I'm then going to just go around and use the Agrax Earthshade to kind of shade around the panels and create a little bit more contrast, and I can be sort of quite careful with that. Then I'm going to use some Vallejo Fluro Red, which I love kind of putting over that white in the eyes. I've got to let that dry now, but you can see it's starting to glow, and then you can apply a gold or a silver over the helmet skull. It's the dealer's choice. Right, it should look like that at this point. We're then going to apply the Nuln Oil onto the shoulder, wings and dagger, and into the recesses around the eye, and that glowing is going to come through with a shadow around the eye then. Right, now I'm going to use a edge highlighting brush and just work my way around with Stormhost Silver, which was the silver we used for the Zenithal Prime before we put the colour over the top. And you can see here I'm just picking out parts of the armour paneling. Sometimes I'm using quite a heavy line, and sometimes I'm wanting that really sharp fine line, so I'm either using the sort of tip of the brush or the edge of the brush at a 45-degree angle. There's lots of great videos, which is where I learned it on YouTube, and I still go wrong sometimes and then have to go back and tidy up, but this is really for me where the model starts to come to life, and I love it. This is what it looks like at this point. Right, then we're going to mask up our model, and we're going to apply a white Vallejo ink straight through the airbrush with some slight overspray onto the areas that we want that light going onto. We're then going to use the Fluro Blue, and again, not worrying about the overspray, and then we're going to do quite a heavy dry brush of Kantor Blue, but any dark blue will do. You can go quite dark here. It's the contrast between that dark and the white we're about to add in at the bottom. So I again thin down that white ink and just place it around the bottom, making sure it kind of spreads up into the recesses. And that's the contrast we need to get that kind of glowing effect. Okay, and then just going to use the airbrush to very carefully add some additional fluoro into that, and I'm quite happy with that. Right, I need a black base onto the rocks, and I need some white flowing lines around those rocks, which will be the lava. And when that's done, I'm going to do quite a heavy dry brush, picking out the details in those rocks, knowing that I'm going to sort of go back over it and overspray some white just to kind of neaten up those edges and kind of give it that glow effect. I'm going to get the white onto the armor paneling closest to the lava, and then I'm going to go around and I'm going to put some Bad Moon yellow straight through the brush, leaving the whitest areas in the middle and just yellow around the edges. And then further out from that, I'm going to use the Vallejo Fluro Red, and again just working away from the yellow, away from the white, onto the edges that are away from the lava, creating that kind of glow effect. So when that's done, I'm going to then just let that dry and go back over with a little bit of the white ink to pick out the super warm areas, and then peel and unmask the finished model. I was quite happy with that. Let me know what you guys think, and if you liked it or it helped in any way, please drop a like and subscribe. Thanks guys.